everything's been under a veil of secrecy for the last few months. Now the show has been shot. It's going to production. It's going to air July 15th. How relieved are you now that you can finally talk about it?
I'll defer to Jon, first of all. He's been working on this a lot longer than I have. So.
Yep.
Well, you know, we've been chased all over the country from coast to coast to coast by social media, and we've been putting out false information where we can, and we've been literally trying to live in a cloak of secrecy. And so to finally be able to announce Jon, I mean, we've been saying he's in different cities when we're traveling, as you know, we've been trying to hide the fact, and it's a whole new world when you do a program like this. Everybody, absolutely everybody's got a camera, and everybody tweets, and so it's a huge relief to finally let everybody know that we're ready to go and Jon's our man.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Questions for Jon and Jon?
First one for Jon with an H. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys came upon selecting Jon without an H as the host?
Yes. We wanted to try to do something different with our host in Canada than what they do in the U.S. program. It was a point of distinction, and we thought it would really be an opportunity to give our show Canadian DNA. You know, I like so many people, I watched the Olympics and watched Jon perform brilliantly and win his gold medal, and the story about that was extraordinary. It was exceptional. But I also think that the way people behave after they've won is a really telling thing, and I think that Jon's moment at the Vancouver Olympics was just one of those tremendously unifying, historic, Canadian angel dust moments. And I think that a lot of the attributes that we were looking for a host, somebody who was incredibly well-traveled. Jon, with his particular sport, travels all over the world. He's got a certain sophistication because of that. We wanted somebody that was athletic because we really wanted to incorporate our host into some of the challenges of the show and to give a sense through his eyes what our teams were going to go through. So we wanted somebody, you know, that actually had balls and would do some of these really dangerous and exciting things. And we already knew that Jon was there. And we want somebody that was really personable and somebody that could relate in a special way with our competitors. Get under the skin a little bit, have a different kind of dialogue with them. And we were attracted to the idea of not a TV guy per se, and somebody who was an icon. So those were some of the building blocks that added up to our selecting.
And then, Jon, for you, can you talk a little bit about that physicality and the athleticism and what it was like doing some of these challenges?
Well, I think it was the arm wrestle that really solidified it for me in the interview process. I nailed it. I got the arm wrestle down, and so I think the job was mine. But the challenges that we got to do were awesome. Danielle and I got to do a lot of really fun things. Some things that I wouldn't maybe otherwise have an opportunity to partake in. Things that are definitely once in a lifetime that definitely push the envelope as far as things you're comfortable doing. But I think that's where people learn a lot about themselves, is living outside their comfort zone. Now I was so far outside my comfort zone doing this show. I mean, like you said, I'm not a TV guy, so I was having to learn a lot of new things on the fly, and my learning is far from over, but it was something that I was proud to undertake, something that I was excited to challenge myself at as well. And so it wasn't just the physical challenges of the show, it was the challenges of figuring out a role for myself as host. I didn't quite know how I was going to be coming at it. And I had amazing people to help me with that. The host team, as they called it, with the camera, sound, and director, were awesome. It was myself and Rob and Mark and Don, and we traveled together as this tight unit, and we got things done. And they helped me a lot for sure. And so without those kind of guys, I think my job would have been a lot more daunting and a lot harder to get done. But it was both physically challenging and mentally challenging, and it was a great experience for sure.
Thank you.
How much of the U.S. format did you get into? Are we going to see the same roadblocks, the same detours, or is it going to be a little bit more Canadian, maybe a moose turn or something like that?
No, we didn't have any moose turns. You know, in terms of the rules of the game, we stayed pretty close to the format, but everywhere we went, I mean, I think that you'll find our cast really incredibly distinctively Canadian. that the challenges that we selected were really inspired by who we are and where we come from and the places that we went. So I think that, you know, when you see the show, you'll say, hey, this really looks like The Amazing Race, but there certainly is a Canadian DNA, starting with Jon as our host, an incredibly compelling cast that I'm so excited about because they really help make the show in a big way. And then just this, you know, you can travel through downtown Toronto and you can really experience many, many cultures blocks away from each other, including language barriers. You know, Canada is a little bit different than the United States in that I don't think we're a melting pot. You can come from different parts of the world, celebrate your heritage here, and still be Canadian. And I think that that's something really distinct about who we are, and elements of tolerance in this country are a little bit different than in other places. And so there's certain things that I think will come out in the nature of our show that really represent very much, you know, who we are as people, who we are as a country, and the physicality of this place. You know, we've been to places, Jon and I, that have just taken our breath away that we could never have imagined. Deserts and places that you could never have imagined. You know, I think there are going to be some surprises with some of the things we're doing and some of the places we're going.
Hi guys, I'm Sherry Blanco, CTV.ca. I wanted to ask you, Jon, the host, many people consider you a quintessential Canadian, but did you gain a new appreciation for the country while you were hosting?
There was places that I haven't seen, and as a youngster, I was lucky enough to have a mother and father who instilled in me not the belief, but the truth that we're very lucky to be able to call ourselves Canadian. And we got to see a lot of the country I did as a youngster. So to be able to go back to some of these places that I hadn't been to for quite a while and to go to new places, for sure. I already had a profound sense that I was a lucky man to be Canadian. But doing this show, you get to meet other Canadians, you get to see how they interact with the racers. And this, I guess, a sense of commonality amongst the people that certainly none of them were, you know, elitist. Nobody was rude on the race, and everybody was quite helpful. And I think the racers found out that it was great to be competing in your own country because people genuinely want to help you. Elsewhere in the world, it might not be quite as, you know, forthcoming to help, but definitely what I took away from the show is a further belief that we're incredibly lucky to be Canadian, and I know that Canadians who watch the show are going to see their country showcased like never before, and it's going to be not only an awesome ride from the perspective of the drama that's going to unfold from the racer's perspective and the drama that's created through the challenges, but just what happens naturally on a road race like this across a great country like ours. People are going to be really excited to see what the show unveils.
Bill? Now, one of the things you're known for is, after your victory, gulping down beer on the streets of Vancouver. Do you find that you must be offered a beer everywhere you go in Canada? And did you discover any new ales? Is there a region in Canada that stands out in this area?
There isn't a region in Canada, but I tell you this, that everywhere we went, when it was time to unwind after a long day of work, I was trying to drink some of the craft beers and local brews from all the places around Canada. And I'll tell you what, man, we got some great breweries out there, and you got to sample some of the local wares when you get out and travel. I think that's a good way of getting a flavor for the local landscape, is by tasting beers from different parts of the country.
There seems to be a natural promotional opportunity, a nice fit for a sponsor here.
You know what? Unfortunately, as an athlete, I can't rep alcohol or tobacco products in the country of in our country. Provincial laws, I think, prevent me from doing so. So unfortunately, there's no great fit there for a monetary gain. But I love beer, and I think that's pretty evident. Thank you.
I can vouch for that.
Hi, I'm just wondering what your family thought of you undertaking this adventure.
You know what? It's funny because when they announced The Amazing Race coming to Canada, I believe it was in September, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around that time, and they said, The Amazing Race is coming to Canada. My family, for whatever reason, thought that I should apply to be the host, and I was like, you gotta be crazy. First of all, they're not gonna want me. Secondly, I kind of have some stuff that is on my plate right now, like, you know, trying to defend an Olympic gold medal in less than a year's time. And so I didn't think that it was something that would be on my horizon, but throughout the season, we got chatting with them and put in a reel, and then after the season was over, came out here and did a bit of a tryout or an audition, I guess. and was lucky enough to land the job. And so when it actually came full circle from my family talking about it in September to being actually named host, and I did tell my mom and dad before I came on the show. They were pumped, and my sisters as well, because they're huge fans of the show. They wanted to, I had to apologize to my brother-in-law who wanted to do an audition tape to actually be on the show with me as a racer, because I don't think that's a possibility anymore. To host and to race, I don't think is something that's allowed.
Against the rules?
Against the rules. So yes, no, they were disappointed with that, but happy for me in the role that I was given for sure.
Hi, one final question. Andrea Case, CTV News is behind the pole here. You just talked about the fact that you want to defend your Olympic gold medal. How do you do the both? How have you been able to incorporate your training into hosting the race?
I was lucky enough that the timing of the race in May was phenomenal for my training. I was able to do some earlier training in the season that I wouldn't normally do. Normally I'd start around May, but this time because of the show I got going in March. And so I was able to do a lot of work up till the time we had to leave. And then I was hoping to be able to get some workouts in on the road. I did very few. And my coach knows that, so I'm not letting the cat out of the bag here. But I'm back to training full on now. I'll probably try to get a workout in sometime today and do it while I'm traveling and doing this type of media stuff, but it fits in perfectly with the timing. May couldn't have been better for the opportunity of a lifetime. To say no, simply because I had some workouts to do, I think would have been a huge mistake on my part to give up an opportunity like this and the professional development aspect of it as well. So I thought we'd get it all done, guns blazing, and still try and, I've got more than enough time to do the work that's going to be necessary to do as good a job as I can do in Sochi. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, John and John.